This episode is brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities.
I need all of those things, and I'm in Alberta.
Hey!
Picture this.
What a coincidence. In Alberta, you get to choose who to buy your internet, electricity, and natural gas from. Park Power has low overhead, which in turn allows them to offer low competitive rates.
That's what I want. I want low rates. We're all tight for cash.
Yeah, and you're in your first apartment, so seriously, you should be looking at Park Power.
Don't scold me on the ad.
Reach out for a no-obligations comparison by emailing estimates at parkpower.ca. If you decide to switch, it's easy. It's really just a change to your billing, and you can feel good knowing that you're helping to give back to our communities with your utilities bills. Learn more at parkpower.ca.
Tell me your dreams over bacon and eggs. We'll share a laugh and a story and even a wish on the breakfast dish. Bop, 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 bop.
Griffin,
Yes?
what are you giggling about?
Sorry, I thought that's how you were starting the podcast.
I am.
I see. It's so quiet. We never enter it with this kind of energy.
Look, I don't want to get tied down to some way we do our podcast. I'm trying to be different.
It's very timid, but I like it. We just usually have a format. We've set up a system.
Oh, all right. Would you like to go back to the system?
No. We're in it now. I'm happy to be here.
Because here we are in episode 46, and we can switch it up.
It's 46. Yeah, 46. Wow.
Yes, because our 1-year anniversary episode was 45.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. Just do a nice little timid intro, Karen. Here we go.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Johnson Diamond. And if you
I'm
don't
a
mind,
mouseketeer.
if it's okay with you, I'll just quickly introduce myself and
This is
my
kind of
son,
making me sad.
Griffin Cork. Griffin Cork is my son, and he's very tall, and I really like him, and we enjoy having this project together. And if you don't mind listening to it, we'd really be appreciative of it. How's that? How's that for timid?
I feel bad that I asked for it. It kind of bummed me out. You deserve to be much more bold and confident, Mother. You brought me into this world. And
Hey, everybody. I had this idea for a podcast. No,
Welcome to the carnival.
I had an idea to eat breakfast. It was my son's idea to make a podcast about it. And so we have. That's what we're doing. And I was listening to another podcast today, not to, flout the competition, but I found this podcast called Music from 100 Years Ago. And it's just glorious. It's just glorious, right? And today's episode was number 765. And I was like, we're at 46, and they're at 765.
right. Well, one of the podcasts that I listen to, it's a comedy advice podcast called My Brother and Me. It's with the McElroy brothers.
I know that one.
Oh God, we're gonna get into that, Cheryl. We haven't even introduced you yet, but I love that you said that. But some people take their podcast audio and then animate it on YouTube, like fans. And there was one. Someone made an animation 2 years ago, and they referenced in the podcast that it was like 2015. So, it's Mabim Bam is what it's called. They've been doing it for years and years, and they're on like episode 60, right? So, episode like 600. So we have time to get there.
We have averaging 46 episodes a year. We can get there in 9 years. Did I do the math right, son?
We have no time to check because we have to introduce our guest. Karen, go.
Yes, I'm so excited to give out our guest. Okay, we will talk about when and where I first met our guest, and we'll see if we're right because we might have different memories of that. But our guest is playwright, director, filmmaker, all around waffle eating wonder, Cheryl Foggo.
It's unfair without the context of our pre-show conversation because it feels like that's what Cheryl's known for.
Just leave it at that. That is the only time I have ever been introduced in that way. I like
it. As a waffle eating wonder?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of trends, now it won't be the last. You may as well add it to your site.
Waffle eating wonder.
I'm going to add it to your Wikipedia page.
Okay, let's not go that far. It's all good. I have 2 questions already.
Good.
so this podcast you were listening to, Karen, that is about music from 100 years ago, is there that much music from 100 years ago that they're on number 700 and something?
Oh, that's
well,
a good
what
question.
he does is, do you remember, and it's still on there maybe on CKUA, the old disc jockey? Remember that program on CKUA?
No.
Anyway,
What
it's
an
just a
enigma
show
that
that
man is.
celebrates music from 100 years ago. But what he'll do is he'll have a theme, like I just listened to the summer love songs. And then he had one that was like, it's the 100th anniversary of the accordion. So all of its accordion music.
Okay.
And then today, the one I was listening to yesterday was on the theme of when. So he had a who, what, when, where, and why episodes, 5 different episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And all the songs referred to when something or time or something. So I'm sure there's crossovers of
I'm going
songs.
to find that podcast tomorrow. I don't know if you know, I'm a music fiend. I just, and that kind of conversation that you've just described is something I do all the time with my daughter, Miranda. So my other question was going to be to preface and say, I love a mother-son project. I'm just all about it. And as you know, I've worked with my daughter, Miranda. So how is it? How is it wonderful working together?
It is.
What was the first
Glorious.
one we listened to? Yeah, I was wondering where that was going to go. What was the first actual time we worked together? Was it Far Away?
I think so. Kevin McKendrick directed me in a show for the Grand, the very first show that was in the Grand for Junction called Far Away. And halfway through Act 2 of a 3-act, 47-minute play, but it had 3 acts. The second act was mostly a parade of prisoners just walk across the stage. And the playwright would like to have had, Carol Churchill, at least 100. Like the whole act is just 100 prisoners dragging their butt across the stage.
I didn't know that. 100 is so many.
Oh, I know. And we got, I think 40. I think we ended up with 40 people that volunteered on different nights.
Really?
Oh, yeah, like as a group, like maybe 10 this night, 12 nights.
The whole idea was that the prisoners had to walk across the stage, but they were being used as like models for
Hat models for
like the new fashion designers in this like weirdly semi-post-apocalyptic world. So they're being led off to execution, but they have like, I remember one, it looked like those like Clico sticks that was made out of like it looked like the DNA helix was just like twisted around. I remember that one vividly.
I don't remember what hat you wore, and it doesn't matter,
neither.
but you were 7. So that, I would say that's the first time.
We didn't really like, it's not like we did a scene together or anything.
But that's amazing. Yeah. You were 7 and you were a prisoner.
Yeah.
I think maybe Kevin just brought me in just because it's so sad to think that
It's so sad.
Yeah.
I committed a 6-year-old crime and now I'm paying for it.
Yeah, you were the caboose of the parade. When did you and Miranda start working together? When's the first time you worked together?
She was really young too. She was in grade 1, so she must have been around the same age. And we did a dance show in which I said a poem, and she danced to a song called "With a Child's Heart." It was Betty Polson had directed it. It was a good little piece. And yeah, so here we are working with our kids all these years.
I think I've told you this, Mom, but one of the final projects before I let you retire from your work is I would like to do, if we have to self-produce it, that's fine. I would love you and me to do For the Pleasure of Seeing Her Again.
I know.
And
I think it would kill me.
I know, and I also need to be older, so you got to give me some time to get there.
I'll give you some time. Yeah,
That
I'll
would
hang
be
on until
so
you're ready.
powerful. What a great
Right?
idea.
I know. I think it'd be so good.
Yeah, it would be.
Anyway, let's talk about Cheryl and not about the future projects that Griffin
Sorry.
and I are doing.
That's right. This is a future plug? What are we doing?
Okay, I'll talk about projects and also family-connected projects. This is how I believe I first met you, Cheryl.
Okay.
It was 1987, and I was in my first, last, and only year of the Red Deer College Theatre Arts Diploma program, because it had just opened this program, and I had already taken a bunch of years, and I had all the first-year classes, so I was the only second-year enrolled. And your husband, Clem, came to the college to write a commedia show based on we students improvising.
Yes.
And it was called The Winning of Isabella. And that I just remember thinking he was the nicest person ever. And I've never been wrong about that. But you know, when you're young and you're impressionable and then they bring in the hot shot from Calgary and you're like, ooh, he was so sweet. So I imagine I would have met you then. Is that your memory?
That's exactly it. I was going to say 88, but you could be right. I was just basing it on the age of my older daughter, Chandra. And I'm sure there were other students there who I might remember if someone told me so-and-so was there, but you're the only person I remember. You're the only student I remember from that project.
Oh, neat.
I remember you because you were just so effervescent. You had such an unforgettable personality. And I mean, maybe it's also in part because I've known you through your work in Calgary. You know, maybe that's why I've always remembered. But yeah, you are absolutely right. That's when we met.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad we have that same memory.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people in my class that carried on professionally, and the ones that did aren't doing it in Alberta. So I don't really get that crossover with any of the.
Okay. And was Rena Cohen directing or teaching, or was she there?
Daryl Rolls directed it. Rena was there. She was absolutely my teacher that year, but I'm pretty sure she didn't direct it. I'm pretty sure Richard O'Brien or Daryl Rolls directed that.
Okay.
Do either of you remember what The Winning of Isabel was about? Was that the name? Winning of Isabel?
The Winning of Isabella.
Well, you know how Comedia is, right?
Yeah, he's done it.
Yeah, they're all the same. They're all kind of you know, lots of shenanigans. Shenanigans took place. Romance, comedy.
But yeah, no, it was about the winning of Isabella. I was Isabella. I remember standing over Monty Thull's head so he could see up my dress.
Did you have to do the full,
all the the overacting, posturing.
I remember when I did it, that was the position that all the lovers had to do. Hand to the shoulder, and the other one hand it has to be straight out, but it's got to be soft like it's on a cloud.
And I remember that Clem guiding us through a lot of that too, besides being the writer, guiding us through that Comedia style.
Well, yeah, and it has to be somebody that knows the tradition and and you're right, Clem is very nice. So
this isn't going to play on the audio medium, but here's my best pantalone.
Okay, here I'm doing describe theater. Griffin is moving around his house like a large baboon.
Is this the Torre? I forget.
And he's doing something with his hands that looks like he's washing laundry by hand.
There's the doctor, and then there's the nice kind of silly father de Torre, but they both do like hands on chest. Anyway, I've never acted out anything for the podcast, so first for everything.
That was very good. Very impressive.
Yeah. So, remember a few seconds ago when you said brilliance of our children? I really hope that still rings true after what I just pulled.
Oh, why did I do that?
Speaking of impressive and brilliance, normally I set myself up for really hard segues, but this is an easy one.
Well, yeah, that was a greasy transition.
Your film, John Ware Reclaimed, is taking over Canada right now. It's everywhere. It's all the awards. It's every festival. I would love to hear you talk about that film.
Well, I don't know if I'd say it's taking over Canada, but yeah, it's being seen, which is what you always aim for. It's a National Film Board project, and it took a long time. I actually started working on the concept of the film in 2015, so that's a very long time.
That's my Bim Bam year. And I'm right that it's screened in Calgary twice now, right? At the Calgary International Film Festival and the Calgary Black Film Festival?
That's right, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, I interrupted. Please keep going. I made a podcast joke.
Yeah, no, it's, it's pretty satisfying to have it out in the world after all this time. And it's landing with the people that I most hoped it would land with in a positive way. And yeah, so it's out there doing its thing.
And when you say you started working on the concept in 2015, was that before, during, or after the stage play John Ware Reimagined?
That was after the first production in Calgary, but before the 2017 production in Edmonton. Because Workshop
West. I saw that one. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I saw the Calgary one. It was Ellipsis Tree. Yeah.
That's
Janelle's
right.
company.
Yeah.
They did it right.
That's
yeah.
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of in between those. And, I mean, the notion that I wanted to do a trilogy of works about John Ware started to take shape after the play. I realized that a lot of people, just because of the way people think about John Ware, they took the play verbatim as, scenes from John Ware's life. And of course, I had to keep explaining, but I was never in his cabin to, a fly on the wall to record that conversation between his, so they probably actually didn't say exactly those things anyway. So, but then I started to realize, people take John Ware so seriously and they're so hungry to know more about him that I wanted to make a documentary that was more grounded in what I actually did know about his life. Although, of course, the play is based on events from his life. And then I started thinking there are even things you can't do in a film that I need to do in a book. So that would be the next thing.
Oh, and so when you say trilogy, are you thinking play, film, book?
Correct.
And is it poetry or is it nonfiction?
It will probably be nonfiction, but It'll be
a science fiction rock opera.
Hey, great idea.
No, patent. I'm the co-creator now. Whoops.
And have you started that process or is it still just a germ in your brain?
I have started it. And that's probably all I'll say because I'm one of those people that believes you kind of curse something if you talk about it too far in advance. So yes, I have started that process.
Oh God. Okay. Everyone forget the for the pleasure of seeing her again idea. Everyone nix that. I don't want to have cursed that, 40 years down the road.
I may have jinxed it by saying it was a germ in your brain when I really meant
I love the idea of having a creative idea in your brain as a germ. Hey,
yeah,
I'm working on this play. It's kind of like an infection in my mind.
But a germ can grow a lot faster than a seed.
That's true.
That's a good point. Oh my God, we're really changing the lingo here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What did I say? Breakfast dish, tastemaker. You're a waffling wonder.
Can you name the awards it's won?
Oh, it won the Audience Choice Award at the Calgary International Film Festival. And it won the Views from Here Award at the, it's in French. This festival's in French, so I'm going to botch it because my French is so poor. But Le Cinéma d'Afrique.
Okay.
Festival International, I think, is the long name of that festival. The script was shortlisted for a Writers Guild of Canada award, screenplay award. Has it won any other awards though? I think it's those two awards and the one nomination.
That's so fantastic.
Yeah.
And you have some of the same cast members from a stage play. Janelle was in the stage play and she's in the film, right?
Yeah. My John Ware work has been like a gradual process of assembling almost like a family. I almost think of people as being part of my John Ware family, and it keeps growing. So I wanted people that were close to the story to share the anecdotes from John Ware's life in the film. So the people who were in the play, who are also in the film, don't do the same thing that they did in the play, but they're there. Yeah, they are there as that presence or that continuity of my John Ware family / team.
So speaking of awards being won, and hopefully I can get to this in the question, continuing your work, you also recently been named a distinguished artist by the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta Arts Awards.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah,
and in that, am I right that you get to go to Banff Centre or Banff Centre of the Arts for a time and start working on I assume, a project of your choice?
That's right. Yes. The award comes with a 2-week residency in Banff, which I am so excited about. And I have 3 or 4 things that I'm thinking of working on there, things I'm already working on. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. I think I also have to say, not because I want to boast, but because these awards mean so much to me. I also received the Distinguished Artist Award from the Calgary Arts Development.
That's right.
At the Mayor's Arts Champions Luncheon.
Yep.
I think is what it's called. And the Arts, Entertainment and Media Award from the Calgary Black Chambers. There's just something about having your own community recognize you that feels so satisfying and affirming. So being recognized by the Black community, being recognized by my home city, and being recognized in my home province are all very meaningful.
Hometown awards hit a lot harder. Absolutely.
Yeah, they really do.
I'm just proud to know you.
Aw.
I mean, you too, Griffin, but I'm proud to know you, and I'm not even a born and bred Calgarian. I've been here more than half of my life, and so I feel super Calgarian, but I'm just so proud to live in a city where you are.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so kind.
Beautiful recognition, beautiful, well-deserved recognition for such a sweet, sweet person with so many talents. So tell me about your poetry. I'd love to hear more about your poetry.
Oh, you know what? I started out writing poetry. It was the first writing I ever had published. And it was the first writing, well, maybe not the first writing I ever did. I mean, I started writing very, very young, and that was prose. But I thought of myself as a poet early on, and I no longer do because I feel kind of rusty in that regard. I just started doing so many other kinds of writing, but I have recently returned to it. I have been writing some poetry in the last year or two and really enjoying it. I always think of poets as the people who make the best. They can transition best into other forms of writing, especially screenwriting, because poets are accustomed to being very concise. You know, there's no wasted words in a poetry. So I don't think of myself in the league of some of the poets that I have in my head that are so good, but I think it's a really good form of keeping your skills sharp for me. So that's how I'm thinking of it, is challenging myself to return to that precision in language that there is in poetry.
That's a great way to put it. Oof.
And there's also, I mean, I know novelists, there's this everywhere, but there's also something about the visuals that come out in those few words.
That's right.
Poetry that would lend themselves to screenwriting.
Yep.
My sister, Kimmy Beach, you may know.
Yes, I do.
So now we have to tell her to write a film.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
What I was going to say is Kimmy's very lovely and listens to almost every episode, and I think she would appreciate it if you did your old disc jockey impersonation.
Oh, okay. The show, okay, backing up.
I was going to bring this up, but then we passed the topic, but I do have to come back to it. So here we are.
This CKUA, which is Alberta's public radio station, which is now 85 years old or something, had a program on it for years. And might still, but they might be in recordings or reruns or whatever. John Worthington, and he called himself the old disc jockey, meaning that the discs were old, but also he's old. And he would play things from the 1920s or whatever. And his show, I loved it. It was an hour long, but he probably heard 5 songs in that hour because the knowledge this man has had about music is... here's my impression.
Here we go.
That was Sunday Lovin' by Toots McHorn. You know, Toots McHorn played clarinet and trumpet on a Watermelon Flats album back from the world.
The best part about the old disc jockey
funny
is
because the clarinet
he's so slow and monotone, but he says the craziest names that jazz artists have given themselves. Like,
okay, well, I think it's Fats Waller, not Watermelon Fats.
It is. I'm just making up names that sound like things from the 20s.
That recent song was Jumbo Mumbo Gary on his latest album.
Let's
Sing Down the Stairs.
all eat brunch by Poop de Poop. Okay, anyway.
Poop. Karen, you're an improviser.
That's for my sister. Yeah. Can you tell me how, because I think both your children are quite artistic, are they not? Like Miranda's the musician.
Yes.
And sorry, remind me your oldest daughter's name.
Chandra.
Is also a musician?
No, she is a really terrific writer, but she's one of these rare people that's exactly half right brain, left brain. So when she did her undergrad, she had to do, a Bachelor of Arts and Sciences. And so she's now a midwife.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. And it's a perfect, it's actually a perfect marriage of the two parts of herself, because she writes, during her studies, she did a paper on the Black midwives from the migration of 1910. There were about 4 or 5 well-known midwives. And when I say well-known in their communities at that time and well-known to us. And so she did a paper on them, and she is sort of pursuing that she's very creative and she's a wonderful writer. So it's a really good occupation for her. Yeah.
Oh, and Miranda does the music, did for the play and also for the film. Am I right?
Correct. Yes.
Composition?
Both. Yes.
Like all original music?
Yes. She does some great covers as well when she does an open mic or something. But yeah, sure. For the most part, she performs her own music. And so for the play, I had a very specific set of things I wanted. The first song she wrote for the play was called Spring 1902. And you both have seen the play, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you remember this. Do you notice how life gets harder when you have... Yeah, so that song, that was the first one she ever wrote for the play. And she was at UBC. She was studying, and she was in the creative writing department. And one of her streams was songwriting. And I called her up and I said, I need a country song with soul that is about John and Mildred's house, dissolving in the spring flood of 1902 in southern Alberta. So it was very specific. I needed something very specific. And she called me back a couple of weeks later and sang that song to me over the phone. And then it just kind of grew from there. So she's kind of my perfect partner in that aspect of what I do, because as I said, I love music. Music is in all my work in some form or other, but I'm not a musician. I can't play an instrument, and, I can harmonize with Miranda, but that's all. So yeah, it works out really well. So yeah, she does. She has written, I'm going to say, at least 100 songs. I was going to say hundreds, but I thought that might be an exaggeration. But yeah, she writes lots of songs.
Do you remember if there were like 2 or 3 specific musicians or bands that like you played around the house when they were young that you think might have like influenced that choice to go into? Like
good question.
Yeah, absolutely. She says that all the time. She grew up with a very eclectic music menu. I listen to music every day. I listen to it loud, and I'm fairly limited in that I probably listen to the same 50 artists over and over again, but I have three forms that I listen to a lot. One is sort of R&B from 1955 through 1974, jazz, but older jazz, and gospel.
Toots McCoy.
Well, this DJ you're talking about, he would be like my best friend. Yeah. Like I'm the person that's always saying, oh, okay. So for example, on Sam Cooke's recording of Bring It On Home to Me, I don't know if you know that song. It sounds like there are 5 people backing him up, but it's just Lou Rawls. It's just astonishing. Like later on you should play that song And it's amazing. But anyway, so I'm the person that's always saying stuff like that. And
Oh my God, Cheryl, it's you. You're the old disc jockey. Revealed.
Baby, that is like I love it. So yes, Miranda grew up with that music all the time, every day on blast. But Clem's musical tastes are quite different. So she also grew up listening to a lot of opera, lots of classical, and then Clem's sort of rock choices from the 70s, you know, because you're always kind of stuck in your sort of youth music.
Yeah.
So yeah, she had a lot of different kinds of music that she heard around the house. And I think she's very heavily influenced by Phoebe Snow, Ray Charles. And then as the kids got older, they started introducing music to me that I think also sneaks in there. So, Jeff, who's that wonderful, wonderful singer who drowned as a young man?
Oh, Jeff Buckley?
That's him. That's him. Jeff Buckley, yeah. So I think, and then, you know, you find out stuff like Jeff Buckley was very heavily influenced by Nina Simone, and that makes sense when you listen to his recording of Lilac Wine and a couple of other recordings. Yeah. So it's a great question that you asked, Griffin, and absolutely.
Yeah, it is very interesting to me knowing what songs were played for you as a kid, because a lot of the music that I like, a lot of the styles that I listen to in music, and even some of the artists, I remember because my dad would play it on his old. I think he had an iPod video. It's like one of those big chunky ones that he could never take out of the car because the battery was shot, so if you took it out from the stand it would be broken. But there was the one Blind Me with Science. That I loved that song as a kid.
Blind Me with
She
Science.
blinded me with science.
With science. Who is that?
Thomas Dolby.
Thomas Dolby. Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's funny that you should say that you were really inspired by the music that your father played, because I don't see you buying one Neil Diamond album. So what was wrong with the music I played?
I don't remember you. Like, we used to have like a huge record player in our house that I don't actually remember.
You were too little.
We never like sat around as a family and like put on a record and we're like,
No, it's true.
What about these rich tones? You know what I mean?
Cheryl, let me ask you this question. If you had to pick a musical artist to obsess over for 40 years of your life and then add their name to your last name and to own too many memorabilia pieces about and have spent way too much on concerts, who would that artist be for you?
No question about it, Otis Redding.
Ooh, an excellent
Cheryl Foggo
choice.
Redding.
Cheryl Foggo Redding. Oh, I like the ring of it. I have a, I'm looking at a photograph of Otis Redding right now across the room.
I thought you were going to say, I'm looking at my birth certificate and man, Redding will look good right there.
I'm looking at my husband and he doesn't look happy right now. I heard Otis Redding for the very first time sing, I think, Try a Little Tenderness.
Yes.
On the Commitments soundtrack, the movie The Commitments.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, no, Pretty in Pink.
Okay.
Pretty in Pink with Molly Ringwald and what's his nuts. Anyway, and I just remember listening to that song. It's in The Commitments as well, but it's not his recording. They cover it. But anyway, blah, blah. Here's another podcast you might like. And in fact, you should probably be a guest on, and I should probably hook you up, is there's these two fellows out in Manitoba who have a podcast called Music for the Quarantined Soul. And my podcast co-host, Stephanie Wolf, and I were guests. And the idea is if you only could have 5 albums to take with you into quarantine, what would those 5 albums be and why?
Oh, I'd love to do that show. Yes, please hook me up.
I will. They're fascinating fellas. Like, they have the kind of knowledge you have. They'd be fascinated to talk to someone who can go, oh yeah, that was just Rue Rawls.
Yeah.
In the background.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I would love to do that. But before we move on from this, and I know I'm probably taking up all our time with stuff that I want to talk about that wasn't on your list, but
that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Griffin, do you have a favorite Neil Diamond song? And do you know what is your mother's favorite Neil Diamond song?
Oh.
That's good.
This
is such a test.
I definitely have a favorite Neil Diamond song, and for me, it's probably it's one of two. It's either Kentucky Woman or what do you think the second one is?
The other one that I think that you like is Cherry Cherry. She got the way to move me, Cherry. She got the way
you know
to
what?
move me.
I think you're more right than me. That would
What were
probably
you
be my
gonna say?
second one. I was going to say Solitary Man.
Oh, that's good
I'll be
too,
what
though.
I am. Yeah, oh, no. I forgot about Cherry Cherry. Okay.
My favorite Neil Diamond song.
You're Neil. I think I know the song, but I forget the name of the song. Isn't it the one? Isn't it So Good, So Good? No. What's the?
So Good is Sweet Caroline.
Isn't it Sweet Caroline?
No.
Really? You have a hoodie.
Oh, I
You have a hoodie
tons
with
of-
those lyrics on it.
I know, but in my mind, the So
When
Good,
you,
So
when
Good
you
refers
turned
to
40,
Neil.
nearly Neil came to Calgary, a Neil Diamond impersonator, and brought you on stage and changed the lyrics to Sweet Karen Mine. And Sweet Caroline isn't your favorite song?
It's true. It is
Oh my God.
It is when Bobby Bruce sings it. But,
Wow. Okay.
Here you go, Griffin. You can listen to this. It's called "I've Been This Way Before." That's my favorite Neil Diamond song.
I definitely didn't know
I've been
that.
this way before. Okay, Cheryl, what's your favorite Neil Diamond song?
Karen, you have a pistol. Put that down.
I do have one, but I'm going to have to bring up Neil Diamond because I really like Love Brother Love.
Yeah.
I really love Travel and Salvation Show, but that's not it. So I'm just
Do you know
going
how
to...
refreshing it is to speak to a podcast guest that knows who Neil Diamond is?
Really?
Well, on my other podcast, I tend to speak to a lot of little kids, but
Okay.
My father made a D&D character named Brother Love.
yeah, it's true.
Brother Leslie Love.
You know what? Here's another one you can listen to, Griffin, from the Jonathan Livingston Seagull soundtrack, B. The song is just
I've
B.
heard,
B-E.
I've heard B. I haven't heard I've Been This Way the whole time. Is that the title?
Guess again.
I've always had it. You can't tell me otherwise.
One more guess.
Oh, there it is. Don't worry, honey. I found it. Is that it? He's
Close.
He's looking for his keys.
I've been this way before.
Wow, I gotta write that down.
Did you find it, Cheryl?
I'm a little bit embarrassed by this one that I like, which is Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon.
No, that's a great one.
I know it is, but it's not...
It's not politically correct.
Exactly. It's not, you don't go around saying you like that.
But he doesn't say how old she is. Like back in the day when he wrote that, let's say it's 1970s, and he's 27, and he's attracted to a 19-year-old girl. To him, that would have been too much of a distance. So
1967.
I've decided he's singing to a 19-year-old.
Okay. Fine.
All right, we're gonna light Neil Diamond up on this podcast.
Did he record The Boat That I Row? Because I see that on his list. Okay, because I've never heard it by him. Who recorded it that I would know?
I don't know.
Boat that I row, don't cross no
Got
ocean.
no ocean. Boat that I row won't get me there.
We made a promise that we'd bring up Neil Diamond every episode, and I think this is actually the most we've actually talked about Neil
You're right.
Diamond. Even
Let's get off it.
even
Fine.
episodes, no, I would never. Even on episodes when it's just been me and Karen,
Poor Griffin. Poor Griffin. He's been listening to this his
You guys
whole
know
life.
Skrillex? You guys know Fallout Boy? Remember what was?
Griffin,
We've
you're-
bored him, Karen. He's bored senseless by us.
What's the
It's just, I've found my person, Griff.
party rock anthem?
Yeah, that's
Eminem.
so good. What's something in the next 5 months, Cheryl, that you are super excited about or super looking forward to?
Well, never mind the next 5 months. Tomorrow I'm going into rehearsal. Well, not rehearsal, workshop on a project with 5 other women playwrights. And we've each written short pieces that we're workshopping. Michelle Thrush is directing the workshop, and we're hoping to get it produced in 2022. And it'll be, the pieces are kind of on the theme. We're all reflecting on, as we get older, each of us has kids, some of us have grandchildren, and we're looking around the world and we're going, like, what's going on? Like, why is the world not better than it was when we were young? what's happened, and we have kids and we have grandchildren, and so the pieces are all just reflections on our thoughts and what's in our hearts around that. And I'm quite excited about it. It's I love all the pieces by the other women. There are 2 First Nations women, 1 Métis woman, 1 other Black woman who's from the Congo, and her first language is French. The First Nations women are both using their languages in the piece. There's so many different languages. And Sue Oreo, I don't know if you know who she is. She's well known as a translator, but she's also a novelist. She's doing a piece in it, and her first language is French. I mean, it's just so multi-layered, and I'm really excited about it.
And are you doing it in person?
We are. Yes, we are. We are doing a socially distanced. Some of it's Zoom, like some of our actors are going to be on Zoom. But yeah,
Sure. Right. We're just at that point now where you can start
we're allowed to.
Yeah. Getting into rooms with. Oh, I love that you have something that you're excited for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on in the next 5 weeks?
Speaking of reaching the point, we've reached the point of the podcast where I have to say that the breakfast dish is part of the Alberta Podcast Network. Locally grown, community supported. The intro music you just heard and the outro music you're about to hear is by Alexandra Cowman. All graphic design for the breakfast dish has been done by Morgan Ermter. Karen, what is coming up?
I want to talk to you about New West Theatre in Lethbridge, Arts in the Parks. This is an undertaking that I'm so impressed. It opens on July 10th, and there's something going on every weekend until September 11th at a different park in Lethbridge. There's musicians. There's the Lethbridge Shakespeare Performance Society presents Midsummer Night's Dream. There's Singin' in the Sun from New West Theatre, which is they normally do a great summer show, and I bet they're just doing that outside in the park. So the Marimba Club, a band called Hippodrome. That sounds like something you'd know, Griffin. But it's every single weekend. So where you want to go is newwesttheatre.com. All one word, new, then west, then theatre, but put them all together, no spaces.com. And it's called Arts in the Parks. Actually, that's the only one I'm going to tell you about.
I've seen a billion New West Theatre shows in Lethbridge in my lifetime.
Cheryl, thank you very much for joining us on The Breakfast Dish.
Well, I have been absolutely delighted to be here, and it's been a long time coming. I'm so glad I was able to come.
Oh, me too.
How we usually like to wrap things up on The Breakfast Dish is Karen, as I think it's been brought up, is a professional and talented improviser. So she's about to ask you a question right now that hasn't been planned and probably has something to do with what we just talked about. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
You and Otis Redding and John Ware are sitting at a breakfast table together. What are the 3 of you ordering?
John Ware is ordering a steak and potatoes. Otis is ordering ribs. That's on the breakfast menu of this restaurant where I am.
Of course it is.
I'm ordering waffles.
Yeah,
and we're doing
waffle
sharesies.
wonder.
We're doing sharesies.
Because you can, because there's never been a pandemic and you can just stab your fork into other people's food.
That's right.
Eating all the ribs that I want. Wasting time.
I'm impressed by you, Griffin. I'm very impressed by you.
I made a maybe it was I was doing a graphic design class in junior high, and you had to make a kind of video for a song. So I chose Otis Redding sitting on the dock of the bay.
Aww.
Yeah.
That you should have told me that at the beginning of the podcast. If I'd known that, you would already have been my favorite podcast host of all time.
That's
right.
You
From
two
the
have
start.
so much in common.
We've reached the end of the podcast, and now she still hates me, and that's tough.
No, not at all.
I
But
didn't want to bring it up because I don't have the file anymore. It's only good if
I
could,
was
like,
her
show
favorite
you.
until this minute, and then it switched to
I
you.
see. I'll take that.
that's right.
I like to
That's
pull the
right.
rug
That's
out.
right.
Take us out with some Otis Redding there, Griff.
I really want to just keep going with the rib song. Making sure the sauce is all good. I don't need a bowl for dipping. You know, like one of those finger bowls. It's time to end the podcast.
Bop, 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 bop.
This episode of The Breakfast Dish is brought to you by Shift by Alberta Innovates. Our province is a hotbed of innovation. Now in Season 2, Shift's hosts Katie Dean and John Hagen put the spotlight on Albertan innovators working to improve the world one ripple at a time.
Season 2, Katie, John, welcome to the Season 2 club. Here's the red carpet. Here we actually have a few mimosas prepped for you. It's breakfast time.
Paparazzi, stand back. Stand back, paparazzi.
Guys, seriously.
Come on, give us some room here. Privacy.
Thank you.
Would you respect their privacy? Sorry, Katie. Sorry, John.
Oh my God.
Hey, Griffin, here's a taste of Shift's podcast by Alberta Innovates.
Well, I just don't want the paparazzi to hear, so plug your ears because I'm about to run it. Paparazzi.
Make Shift by Alberta Innovates your next podcast binge. Join us as we take a deep dive with the people that are driving Alberta's 21st century economy.
These global movers and shakers are working to solve today's challenges, create new opportunities, and build a healthy, sustainable, and prosperous future for Albertans today and for generations to come.
Just when you think you know all about Alberta, we're here to shift your perspective.
I don't know if I could stress this enough. We have a top 3 institution in arguably the most important technology in the entire world right now.
We will prove a lot of people wrong by coming out of this even stronger. And the way we will do it is by finding ways to help businesses be cash flow positive and by willing to, find the ways that we can help.
We're just starting to scratch the surface. I mean, Calgary just this last month announced the fact that they broke their record again for venture capital investment. And some of this is in fintech, some of this is in a whole bunch of different areas where we originally didn't even have these types of core industries in Alberta.
We have diversification in our DNA. We just have forgotten about it.
Sincerely, we are blessed in Alberta to have all the infrastructure that we do have.
Tune in to Shift by visiting shift.albertainnovates.ca or your favorite podcast app.
This has been The Breakfast Dish.